Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 70 of the Almost Daily Show with your hosts, Chandler and
the Dave Picardi.
wow, he's all full of pie and full of smiles. Look at him.
I just ate a cannoli.
Yeah. Oh, a cannoli. I forget. It's even better.
Even better.
It was a pretty serious cannoli, too.
It was legit. So not quite, though, as good as. So I actually commissioned my own cookie about a month ago. And last Saturday night, little shout out to, we had a big holiday gala. And the person who I commissioned to actually make the Dave Picardi cookie showed up with the whole tray of the Dave Picardis.
Oh, man. That's pretty incredible.
They were legit.
How many Dave Picardis did you eat?
I actually didn't eat that many. So I probably maybe ate 10.
Oh. How big were they?
They were good size.
so 10 good size cookies. Yeah, that's not a lot.
I felt responsible to eat more of them, but I did my best. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's your cookie. You should eat all of them.
Right, but I definitely needed to get other people's opinions, and I did.
That's good.
So it's a hit. So now for holidays, I think I'm going to give presents away. Little packages of 4 the Dave Picardis to everybody.
It's going to be so good. What do you want? I want the Dave Picardi.
That's right. So real quick, before anybody judges us here. So it's 2 very good chocolate chip cookies with cannoli filling and then a chocolate glaze around the kind of the outside to seal them in.
That's pretty incredible.
It was pretty incredible.
I would eat all that Dave Picardi cookie.
Served slightly chilled.
Just slightly.
Yep.
I like it. It's like a good white wine.
That's right.
Slightly chilled.
So talk to me, Chan. Cold leads. Let's get after it today.
We got on a lot of calls, and this came up in one of our calls, and we realized that people don't necessarily understand what the difference is between generating leads into your business that are cold and leads that are into your business that are warm or even hot. And so we decided that would be a cool topic for the show today, because one of the biggest problems we see in the gym industry especially is everybody's trying to generate cold leads and wondering why they can't close these leads. And we have a lot of programs and systems out there that'll generate 200-300 leads for you, but then you close 1% of them or 0.5% of them, or at the most like 3% of them. And you wonder why it's not easy to close them. And the problem is you didn't take the time to nurture them or build a relationship or build trust. So all you're doing is you're taking someone who's brand new, who's never seen you before, experienced anything from you, who you convinced to opt in on a random form due to some emotional triggers probably. And then they walk into your business and have no idea what's going on and then leave because they didn't expect to purchase anything. But on the other hand, if you have like warm leads that come into your business, these are people who have like been paying attention to the content you put out. They've been subscribed to your email newsletters. They've seen the stuff you do around town if you're a local business. And by the time they walk in, they know who you are. They know who your staff is. They have their familiarity with a lot of your members, and they just have a good general feel and sense that they want to be there. So then when they walk in as a warm lead or a hot lead, they're going to buy right there, because it's not a conversation of purchasing with a warm lead. It's a conversation of, how do I enroll?
That's right. How do I enroll?
How do I enroll?
So something else with that kind of cold lead mentality is, we go through our whole process that we do, and we interview an owner or a manager, and they walk us through their brand and the cycle, the client life cycle, and they do this whole thing. And everybody always, like anyone in business, you want to deliver excellence, and you have these, this great program that you're running. And then you separate the program from the marketing, where people are then going like, 30-day bikini beach challenge to come, to join the gym. But then their actual long-term program is something different. And they're like, oh, once I get them in, then I'll convert them. But it all has to be one fluent plan for longevity, and it can't be the short hits. And that's what we're seeing is, people will do these short-term cold lead things, and they'll get some clients. They have a hard time retaining them, and then every time they run the cold lead ad campaigns, they get less and less effective. And that's the ultimate problem is it's not a sustainable business model.
Yeah, that's a good point. When you look at the way the cold lead systems run, it's essentially getting someone to like pay attention to your video or your piece. If it's a video, you know they're targeting cold. If all of a sudden someone pops on the camera and they do something crazy to get you to pay attention, because they know you don't care about what they're doing, but they know they need to capture that split second of attention. And then it's just like, it's either short copy with a bunch of power words, or it's the longest copy in the history of the world that takes you 25 minutes to read, and you skim and then you click on it, and then you go to the landing page and it's more of the same. And all that is it's a process of trying to trick you emotionally and getting some sort of emotional trigger to get you to fill out a form or fill out the product or buy something cheap to get you to buy something expensive later on. And that's the process with a cold lead acquisition. It's how can we trick people into doing this and convince them to doing it right now so they'll purchase right away. And then you'll find that not as many of them actually go on and buy. The retention, if you're in a client services industry, isn't very high with this kind of acquisition campaign. And then, like you were saying, they become less and less effective because your community wises up to what you're doing. They figure it out. They don't want to click on it anymore. It's boring now. So you continuously have to reinvent the wheel and create new things like that. Because what happens is they wise up to it. And then other businesses, if you're in a commodity-based market, are going to copy exactly what you're doing. And now everybody's doing cold lead acquisition, and then everybody's used to it. So now everybody just figures out what's closest to them and goes to the one that's running the same ad as the other guy.
Right. And then so let's I guess I'll tell a story. I'm good at storytelling about what creates a warm lead, and so here's a great example. So I'll use we own a gym, and I'll use my gym as a specific example. So we test stuff at the gym. So it's even stuff that we don't like, we'll test. Chan and I both do this. And if they're doing it in the market, we want to see how it works. And so we ran Facebook ads it was a year ago. So November, a year ago. And results were okay. I mean, I think we brought in like 30 plus leads over a 10-day window. We sifted through them, and it panned out to be 5 or 6 new clients, which is probably pretty good. So then we also have a content strategy. So we do it at my gym, relationship marketing. Out of the Cave Media is relationship marketing. So we have a whole strategy in place, and we're producing content and telling stories and getting our clientele and coaches all engaged in our brand. And we do it a certain way. And so we ran an ad again in February and then again in April before we kind of killed that thing. So in April, we had 5 people that came in, and all 5 of them said the same thing, which has really helped solidify kind of the overall approach to this is, everyone said that they saw an ad in November. They started really consuming our content and became an audience for us. So they became people that actually paid attention to what we were doing. In February, the ad came up again, and they actually filled out the form, all 5 of them, and did not submit it. Continued to consume our content, and then in April finally filled out the form and submitted it. And they just said that they weren't really sure the first time. They liked it but didn't do it. Second time they were kind of in, but then decided they got a little bit of cold feet. And then the third time was the actual hit. So then they actually came in, and when they came in the door, they didn't even need to hear about what we did. They knew what we did. They were a warm lead. Just making the decision to come in was the sell. They didn't have to, we didn't have to mess it up.
Yeah, that's huge. And when you look at the way, especially warm lead acquisition works, it takes sometimes up to 12 points of contact to get someone to actually come in and consume what you do, especially if you sell a high-end service or a higher price point service right off the bat. And that's where you have to make a decision. I want to be like just a medium low range service where we convince them to come in with a cheap product that costs $8 a month or is free? Or are we marketing and pushing ourselves into more of a high-end market where the initial price offering is $100 or more? And if it's $100 or more like that, especially in like a local service like a gym, you have to position yourself to acquire those warm leads. Otherwise, you're just going to flood your gym with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who don't actually ever sign up or continue on. And that's the story. We have people who walk in all the time and they want to sign up immediately because they pay attention to what we do. They follow our content. They follow the gym or the barbell club. And both of them have separate avenues of content that drive people in. And that's really what does it. And when you look at the way the warm lead acquisition works, is you just start putting out information that helps people educate, or helps people, educates people, motivates people, makes people laugh. Like we talked about the pillars of great content. Then you sit on that for a little bit until you build up enough of an audience. Maybe you put it out, you get everybody to share it, people start watching it. Then you start a campaign to promote to those posts. And the promotional campaign can be like you put $5 or $10 a day into promoting these pieces of content. And then once you do that, so you can build up this audience of views. I would do videos if I was going to do this whole thing, and that's what we do. And then once you build up that video views audience, you retarget everybody who's watching, because now they've already paid attention to it. You retarget 50% of the people who watch, or people who watch 50% of your video, and now they're watching the one that asked them to come in, and they're like, oh, I've been watching this stuff for a while now. I think I should go check that out. And so you're warming people up just by being helpful and not trying to trick them or convince them with weird stuff right off the bat. Then it brings people in who actually care about your product or service. And so that's the pathway. Warm them up with content, then go for the ask. Once you build up a big enough audience, you ask at the same time as you produce content. So it's just a continuous cycle. You refresh those audiences and update once a month to make sure all the new people watching are getting into it. And then the hardest part is you have to be patient with it. You can't expect results tomorrow. It might take you 30 or 60 days to build up a strong enough audience for this, in conjunction with running those call to actions.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is important. Is we hear it a lot. So, how do you quantify warm lead marketing? What we do with relationship marketing, and cold leads. It's like, well, we spent $500, we got 20 leads, we closed 3. So now this is something you can put in a spreadsheet and have discussions about. If I said that, your current business is the fastest place to grow from, right? Go either 1, deliver excellent service. 2, get your current business to refer a friend in the door. So if we know that that's the most powerful way, what we're doing is we're relying on the friend to do all the work for us. And when you get into relationship marketing, it's about producing content and telling stories, basically so that you can showcase who you are, who your business is, who your clients are. And then your clients then don't have to go out and convince anybody to do anything. All they have to do is, right, and all you have to do is learn how to get into their social networks, which is easy, and then produce the content. And so now your friends are liking it, sharing it. You're doing the heavy lifting for them so that you can build into their networks and get the referrals. How do you justify? How do you quantify a friend bringing in a referral? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's. They always ask, hey, how can we help you out? And it's like, well, all that stuff we put out all the time, just share that. That gives us the perfect opportunity to get in front of people and educate them and help them. And then if they talk to us, we're going to go back and forth with them, and we're going to create a cool and interesting dynamic where they feel like we actually took the time out of our day to actually care and talk to them and produce stuff that helped them out. And the funny thing is, if you help people and help enhance their lives, they're going to want to come to you when they're ready for that life-changing decision. And if you're just the business who always runs these campaigns to trick people, it's going to work for a little bit, but then you're going to be known as the brand. Like, oh, I always see their crap. They offer that thing up front for free, and then they charge you $900 when you walk in the door if you don't do certain terms and conditions. And so it depends on really where you want your brand to be and how you want your brand to be portrayed. And you can start it off offering like the low end stuff and then move into the high end stuff, but just be careful with using emotional triggers and running the same thing, because everybody's going to copy that if it works. And if you look at the gym industry, the 6-week challenges, the one came out that just blew everything up, and then everybody in the world copied it. Like I talk to countless people every day who copy it, and they wonder why it's not working. And then we look at a market dynamic, and the gym 2 blocks down the street's running the same thing. The gym next door is running the same thing. And then we ask them, well, what makes you different? You're all running the same 6-week challenge. So what makes your gym different? Oh, well, our community's awesome. Well, if I was an uneducated consumer and didn't understand,
which they all are.
Yeah. And I would just look at all 3 gyms. I would find the cheapest one and go to it. Because
that's right.
All you are is a commodity to me. You're running the same thing, same ad. You're a franchise. You're a commodity. I'm going to find the cheap one and go to it.
Right. And giving an audience a window into what you represent, what your facility or your business actually does, what the community is like in your facility, that is what you should be doing for marketing. And then you can run, there is a place for, when you're looking at warm leads versus cold leads, like that doesn't mean you don't, you can't get cold leads. people will run into your content or your ads or anything on social media just because, and they might convert quickly, which is perfect, right? But know that that's not the norm. When you got 300 people to submit a form and you only got 40 in the door, why didn't you get the other 260 people, right? They initiated. Why didn't you get them? You didn't get them because they didn't know who you were. They didn't have a connection, right? So they had an immediate response emotionally, and then they were gone. So that's a numbers game that, if you're in a relationship business, which is the business that we're in, you can't play it long-term like that. It only lasts so long. In the smaller your market, it might, maybe you're in Boston, New York, Chicago. There's millions of people. You might be able to play the game for a long time. We have clients that have 10,000 people in their town. You can't play that game very long, right? So you'll be over pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see like these shifts. Like all of a sudden you figure out something, then everybody copies it, then you're all doing the same thing. And now nobody cares about what you're doing, especially if you're in a small community. It takes one or two interactions where they don't necessarily like it, or they've been tricked, and then the entire community knows about it. And then you've got yourself a problem. But if you build yourself this verifiable brand that people care about and has emotion and shows these humanistic characteristics and actually puts out information that helps people, they're going to be a lot more likely to actually want to work with you and to pay attention to what you do. And I think the big thing people miss out on doing this is everybody puts out content, and everybody somewhat puts out kind of decent content half the time. But the big problem is they forget that they actually have to ask people to do things. The problem is, like, if people see your videos and your information all the time, they're gonna be like, wow, that's great. And they're just gonna shut it down and that's it. But then if they see another one pop up that says, hey, you've been watching our stuff, we've got a bunch of spots open for a free introductory consultation or whatever, just to see if we're a good fit. We think it's time that you came in and saw us. Then they would actually do it. Yeah, you.
Me?
That guy watching me on the camera.
Oh, I know you never asked before. I feel honored now.
I'd love to bring you in.
I've been following your stuff for years, Chandler. This is the first time you actually asked me to do something. I can't wait.
Yeah. I just felt like it was the right time. And see, now you're excited about it.
I'm all in. I can't wait to come. I thought that I wasn't invited because you never said anything.
Yeah, so let's do this. So that's what it is. It's you have to remember that, yes, you're being educational. Yes, you're being motivational. Yes, you're helping people and you're not being salesy in your marketing. But at some point, you need to ask people to do things. And the way people fundamentally work is if you don't ask, they're not going to do it. If you ask, they're going to recognize that they need to do it or they should do it, and they're going to do it. People always talk about how they work. There's a theory where people will funnel in different groups together. Nobody will ever end up in the dead zone. They'll all funnel into the same little group together, and they'll walk the same way, same directions. And that's what happens. You need to tell people what to do, and they'll funnel right into where you want them to go. But if you never tell them or you never ask them, they're not going to actually do it. So remember, in conjunction with all that good content you produce, there has to be some sort of way you ask people to do it. And if it's something they're familiar with, something they're paying attention with, and something they're excited about, when they do see that ask, that's when they're going to pop in and convert.
And people also do what their friends are doing. And so this is why it's so important to tell your story and involve your community in your story. Just dropping pictures and different things, it's not good enough. It actually, that's why video is so powerful. If I'm seeing my whole network of friends training at a certain gym, I'm the one that's left out. So anytime I show up at a party, anytime I show up anywhere, they're excited. So you have to deliver a good service so your clients talk about you all the time. And then you also have to make sure that you're in their social feeds and you're producing content where their friends are going to consume it. That's going to create the warm lead when you do have a call to action.
Exactly. Social proof. If people see their friends doing it, they're more likely to do it because they're excited about it.
That's right.
One thing you can even do is once you run all this stuff and then you get someone who runs a nice testimonial and talks about how great you are. And then that's your call to action. It's just someone talking about how great you are. Yep. So you run all that good content. Then in conjunction with that good content, you have a solid testimonial video. And that's it. And the whole thing can run off videos. And I think one caveat is that people like to run lead ads because it generates leads on Facebook, but I think it produces a lot lower quality because it's just easier to get through. And we find that people are just not as interested. So if you send them to like your website to fill things out, it's harder for them to do, and they're more likely to actually continue through. But it doesn't even matter if they care about you and you've built up this relationship for a long time. You can have the worst landing page in the world and they're still going to convert if you've done this right.
That's right. And we're all about doing it right.
That's right. If you're not doing it right, you're doing it wrong, I always say.
I love it. Well, that was a good one. So
yeah, good times.
Cold versus warm leads. Make sure you decide what you want to be doing, and then make sure you put the work in appropriately. Either way, we won't judge you. If you're a cold lead machine, we won't judge you.
Exactly. We'll actually work with you to help you generate a relationship on top of the cold lead generation. So
that's right.
Do your thing. Be happy about what you do, and once you figure it out, you're set.
That's right.
And that's all she wrote. Steph said I shouldn't say that's all she wrote anymore, so I'm gonna say it every episode.
Nice.
Yep.
Steph, it's okay. So if you're listening out there, it's all she wrote.
Yeah, right. She won't listen to us at all. That's all she wrote. All right.
Good stuff.
See ya.
Guys.